Hey Covenant, my name is Patrick Griffey, the Associate Director of Discipleship, and this is Wednesday Rewind. This past Sunday, Mike Smith delivered our message as we continued in our series on the Creed. We looked at Pontius Pilate, particularly in Jesus' suffering under Pontius Pilate. Now this brings up two particular things that I want to focus on. First, Pontius Pilate was a man that existed. He was a Roman overseer in Jerusalem, and he was the one that was able to kind of give the stamp of approval on the Jews persecuting and taking care of Jesus. Just as we looked at last week with Luke and his investigation to where he spoke to real people that were firsthand witnesses, Pontius Pilate was a man that existed. We can look at extra biblical sources to corroborate this. And not only just Pontius Pilate, but Jesus himself. Muslims believe that Jesus was a real man that existed. Jews believe that Jesus was a real man that existed. Buddhists believe that Jesus was a real man that existed. These things are rooted in facts, which is one of the reasons that we include suffered under Pontius Pilate. Secondarily, and Mike kind of briefly touched on this, Pontius Pilate represents this realm, this temporal experience that we have. He represented Rome in its entirety. And Jesus, throughout the Gospels, speaks about this temporary existence that we have. And I'm going to look at a few scriptures that kind of touch on what Jesus says about these things. Because as we see throughout, people are very concerned, focused on the now. And that is not Jesus' focus at all. These two particular passages I want to look at feature Peter. And Peter is very much focused on the now. So this first passage that we're going to read from is in Mark. And this is in Jesus' declaring that he is going to die to his disciples. He's letting them know what's coming down. So this is Mark 8, and this is verses 31 through 33. He then began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, that he must be killed and after 3 days rise again. He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter. "Get behind me, Satan," he said. "You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." What Jesus is telling Peter here is like, I'm not worried about the here and now. I'm worried about this future reality. I'm worried about bringing down the kingdom of heaven now. Not this temporal experience, not what is happening right in front of our faces, but what are we wanting to accomplish here? I want to bring the kingdom. Now the second scene that we're looking at, this is out of the Gospel of Matthew. It is actually kind of the fruition of this. And we see it just really crystallize in the garden. Jesus is arrested. And again, Peter, in Matthew's Gospel doesn't say Peter, but Peter, he brings out his sword. He's getting ready to roll because he sees, okay, this is it. Like Jesus being arrested, this is now the time when Jesus is finally going to take out Rome. He sees a very temporary thing. So this is Matthew 26, verses 47 through 54. While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions, Peter, reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then will the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way? Jesus is again affirming, it's not about the right now. It is about having a relationship with God, which is going to come through my ultimate sacrifice. This next week, on Sunday, we begin Holy Week. And Holy Week begins with the triumphant entry into Jerusalem. See, men, women, children are all gathered as Jesus comes into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey, as prophesied in Isaiah. They're greeting him with palm branches. They are excited because the Savior is here. The Savior that they believe is going to save them from Roman captivity. See, the Jews have a long history. They've been slaves of Egypt. They've been slaves of Babylon. And now they're essentially enslaved by this Roman occupation. And they are ready to see their conqueror come in and clear out the Romans. But that is not what Jesus came to do. He did not come to save us from Roman occupation. He didn't come to save us from political oppression. He didn't come to save us from all the uncomfortability that comes in our current reality. He comes to save us from sin that separates us from a relationship with the Father. Now, I keep saying it's not about the now. It is. It's just not about what we see around us. We can start a relationship with Jesus right now. Eternity goes both ways. Eternity can start today when we accept Christ as our Savior. But He does not save us from political oppression. He doesn't save us from mean people. He doesn't save us from all these things that we get ourselves concerned about, that we lose sleep over. He came to save us from the sin that separates us from our relationship with the Father. Join us this Sunday as we continue and we look at the clause in the Creed that says crucified, dead, and buried. See y'all.